Welcome to the 2018 installment of our Football Officials video training series. We're studying the National Federation of High School Rules, 5-Man Mechanics. This video is produced by the Arkansas Association of High School Officials. Visit our website at aahso.com. We're helping good officials get better. Technical assistance provided by Dax Hill, Greg Nallum, John Duncan, and George Demetrio. Produced by Matt Bivens. Our executive producer is Walt Coleman. I'm your host, Todd Allen. If you've been around this video training series for any length of time, you know how much I depend on the Reading Study Guide to give me a clear and concise understanding of the rules. George's writing style makes it simple to dig down deep and get a clear understanding of the rules, and the application of the rules are just as important. Plus, there's challenging quizzes and tests and great diagrams. It's just a fun book to read the rules and understand and get better as a football official. Couple that with this video training series, and I promise you're going to be a better football official. The Reading Study Guide to the NFHS football rules. When you're through learning, you're through. First play we're going to talk about blindside blocks, and we've talked about this a number of times. It's really important. I've got a couple of plays we're going to look at, but this one I want to focus on is this play. It involves an interception. And you see the quarterback gets hit right as he throws the ball, and then the ball's picked up by this big defensive lineman, and down the field we go. And I want to back it up and want you to look at these two players right here. And notice the thing that you want to do is notice how close these guys are together, because that's really, really important. Blindside block, block that you don't see coming, executed with forcible contact. And look at the action right here. And one step and then a hit, and the player falls directly on his back. So that tells me a lot about this play. One thing is I've never seen a blindside block initiated with one step. And I back this up even further and notice that this is the player, number 4, who's trying to block 23 on the defense. And then the interception, and within just a second or two, they flop, and 23 is now trying to block 4, and that's this block. We throw a flag and call this a blindside block. And to me, there's a lot of elements that are missing in this play. First of all, I don't think it's blindside. Look at the contact's in the front. And so then basically the player lands on his back, and the defender lands on top of him, who the defender is now blocking following this interception. But I want to take you to this play. Do you remember this? We had this, I think, in week 3. And just watch you through this play, and look at this player right here and the action that occurs right here. And this is a blindside block. This one we want called. Now I go back to this play again. Watch this action. See how different these plays are? One involves forcible contact, blindside, a lot of speed, different directions, players swimming upstream. All the things that we talk about are all in place here. And this play only involves just maybe a block that someone didn't see. The elements of a blindside block are not in place here. We do not want this called as a blindside block. Not enough speed involved, not enough risk for injury, although I don't want you to try to judge whether the player could get injured or not. And look at a blindside block with all of the elements and decide, well, he couldn't have gotten injured, so that's why we didn't throw it, coach. No, that's not where we're trying to go with this. But all of the blindside blocks we've shown over the years, a couple of years we've been doing this particular play looks different than all of them. Why? The elements aren't here. We don't have the forcible contact. Although it's a nice hit, it takes the defender off of his feet. The speed involved, no swimming upstream. The elements are not in there. Don't lose your good common sense when you call these blindside blocks. And I can see why we called it. I understand. I get it. I'm okay with that. But I just wanted to point this out. I think it's really important that we understand the difference between a blindside block that occurs out in space with players swimming upstream, that knocks a guy off his feet with forcible contact, and a play that's just a good solid block after a change of possession, 2 players who were closely engaged. We only took one step. One step. Just missing some of the elements. What we don't want to see is a blindside block. And the other thing I want to say about this play is it is great that we've shown you so many plays where they were blindside blocks, and some of them we called and we said they were right. Some of them we didn't call and we say we should have. Here's one we called and we're showing you we shouldn't have. And I think that's an important difference. And until you see one that has some of the elements in place and we don't want them called a blindside block, I think it's hard to see where the other side of that is. So I hope we're kind of creating the parameters. We want this play to look more like this play. And all blindside blocks don't have to be as big as this one, because this one's huge. But we do want to see some element of speed, forcible contact, and Any of those other key phrases you can look for, players swimming upstream, reversing the field, are all great indicators. Not absolutely required by the rule, but good indicators. But focus on these plays, see them all, look for all the elements in place before you make a ruling for a blindside block. All right, second play looks a lot like the first play, but I'll skip all the introduction, go straight to this part of it. 2 angles here I want you to look at. And this is a foul. These players and coaches in the restricted area during a live ball, and a referee, you see this wing officials having to push these guys out of the way to try to run up the field. This is interfering with the game official's ability to officiate the game. It's also a huge risk for injury because the game official could run into one of these players or coaches. No one can be in the restricted area during a live ball. End of sentence. There's no excuse for this, no level of excitement. All this jumping around and running up down the field can happen in somewhere other than the restricted area, something we do not want to tolerate. We should have seen a flag dropped on this, and the coach would have known why he got it. We've got to do that, guys. Got to clean up these sideline. Coaches, we need your help. Players, we need your help. Got to be out of the restricted area during all live ball situations, regardless of what's happening on the field. So let's look at this play. And this is going to involve a potential for kick-catching interference. And before we look at the play, let's review the rule. 6.5.6 is what we're talking about. While any free kicks in flight enter beyond the neutral zone to the receiver's goal line, or any scrimmage kick is in flight beyond the neutral zone to the receiver's goal line, K shall not touch the ball or R, unless blocked into the ball or R, or to ward off a blocker, or obstructs R's path to the ball. This prohibition applies even when no fair catch signal is given, but it does not apply after a free kick has been touched by a receiver or after a scrimmage kick has been touched by a receiver who was clearly beyond the neutral zone at the time of touching. There is one exception to this. K may catch, touch, muff, or bat a scrimmage kick in flight beyond the neutral zone if no player of R is in position to catch the ball. Pretty important rule. And now let's look at this play. And a couple of things I want to point out here. So we see the receiving team player jump for the ball, and at the time he jumps for the ball, just about the time he makes contact with the ball, he gets hit. Has he completed the catch? This is a really tight play. And what we would call, if this were a potential pass interference, is bang, bang. And we like to stay away from bang, bang calls because we just can't be consistent with it. This philosophy does not carry over to kick-catch interference. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. If a play is bang, bang, where the ball and the player making contact arrive at nearly the same time, we do want kick-catch interference applied to this. This is a safety rule, and this player is a defenseless player because his position and focus of concentration make him more susceptible to injury. So when in doubt, this is a foul for kick-catching interference. I think if we go through this frame by frame, we'll see the receiver's hands start to come down, but he hasn't completely wrapped up the ball, and look, his feet are not on the ground, so he has not completed the catch. So contact is made with him by the kicking team player before he has completed the catch, and that meets all the criteria for kick-catch interference. This is clearly a foul, and we want this called. Let's roll back, though, because I want to show you something else, too, because this is actually a dead ball. Because we go to here, and look at this. These players at the bottom of the screen are clearly offside, some by more than a yard. So point out this official at the location right here. What I'm going to recommend to you, and we've talked about this before, is don't stand with your toes right on the green. If you will back up, give yourself 2 or 3 feet back off of the sideline, and look for this parallel line at the bottom, the sideline, to actually get into your focal point along with the line, the 40-yard line. If you can see both the horizontal and vertical white in your field of vision, it makes calling offside very easy on these kick plays, and this is a dead ball. We should shut this down. If these players get to block your vision of the ball and their feet are clearly beyond the line, we want to just shut this play down. This is a dead ball for offside on the kicking team, but we don't shut it down. We let it run, and we end up with kick-catch interference that should have never happened. So, got to be on our game. Expect the kicking team players to be offside on any play, and then shut these plays down for offside. But we miss that, and we miss the kick-catch interference foul. Focus, concentrate. These plays happen fast. We don't get a lot of repetition. We may not see a fair catch on a free kick more than a couple of times in a year if we see it at all. So we got to really talk about these in our pregame. Be ready to officiate these plays. That's it for this week's training video. Thanks for sticking with me till the very end. Monday night, I missed the call, but we got a chance to talk to Coach Reed, one of our head football coaches, about communication on the sideline, what he likes, what he doesn't like about dealing with or talking with officials. And I think those were some really, really great comments. I got a lot of feedback from that call, and I appreciate for those of you who participated in that. And also to Coach Reed for taking the time during the season to spend a little time with us trying to help us be better at communication. And communication is a key component, how we manage the game, which is so important. And I want to just drop back to that last play because I'm already getting some pushback from network control here about was the ball in flight on this kick-catch interference. I used the word, in the rule, the term is in flight, and I used completing the catch. And don't get too wrapped up in being overly technical with this. Remember, we're protecting players. They're in the process of catching a ball. And when in free kick and scrimmage kick formation, the tie goes to the receiver. So just think of it more in those terms. Really, really tight. How are we consistent? Well, if you're in the really, really tight zone, let's protect the player. I hope that helps with that last play because I don't want to add confusion or get too wrapped up and being overly technical with this rule. Just remember we're protecting these student athletes, and that's our focus. So if you think about it in those terms, I think it's easier for you. We're right here, week 8. I mean, we're wrapping this thing up quickly. We've got just a couple of weeks of the season. And needless to say, some of these games in the next couple of weeks are going to be huge. And some of them that may not have playoff implications are going to be really big too because we're rivalries. These rivalry games late in the year, they're very, very tough. We got players that are banged up too, and that creates some changes in the game and makes them sometimes a little more difficult to officiate. So, now is the time we're looking for you to roll into your playoff performance capability. You should be peaking with your crew, 8 weeks working together, checking out the training videos, reading the play bulletins that Greg puts out, listening to the conversations we've been having on the conference calls, putting all these things together. And now is the time I really want you to peak, be at the top of your game, be playoff caliber officials. And one of the things you do when you're a playoff caliber official is you make the fouls big. Make them show up on tape. Don't nitpick things. Be really good preventive officiating, be great dead ball officials. We'll roll into these playoffs in top form, ready to go, ready to deliver for these student athletes, our coaches and fans, the very best high school football officiating we can possibly do. I'm really excited about the playoffs. I'm excited about week 8, week 9, week 10. They're going to be big. So here's my email address, todd@aahso.com. Anything we can do for you as a staff to help you get ready to be in championship form, be sure and let me know. One more thing that I want to do. For these last couple of weeks, 9 and 10, I want to feature plays that you want to look at, things your crew has done or should have done. And what we're going to do is just we're going to feature you in plays that you pick out. And I'm going to identify you and your crew in the play. It's going to be our last play in week 9 and week 10, I hope, time permitting. But that takes a little more production. But these are plays I want you to send in. And they don't have to be correct. I think we learn more when we look at our mistakes. I know that's hard to do. But if you'll just email those to me with the subject line of Zebra Smoke, and please include your phone number. I may call you and ask you to kind of clarify what's going on or what you were thinking. So that'll be in week 9 and week 10, our last play in each of those training videos, the plays from you, about you, called Zebra Smoke. So until next week, Todd Allen for the Arkansas Association of High School Officials saying I hope to see you on the field real soon.